Millionaire humiliated his maid, not knowing she was pregnant with his twins. 9 months later, what he did shocked everyone. Just before we start, drop a flag emoji that represents your country. The crystal chandelier cast dancing reflections across Maxwell Montgomery's marble foyer as he stormed through the front door of his Westchester mansion. His Italian leather shoes clicked against the floor with the rhythm of a ticking bomb. "Olivia, get in here now!" His voice echoed through the cavernous hallway. 28-year-old Olivia Reynolds appeared from the kitchen, wiping her hands on her simple black uniform. Her heart hammered against her ribs. In 6 months of working for the tech mogul, she'd never heard that tone. "Yes, Mr. Montgomery?" she asked, tucking a strand of chestnut hair behind her ear. Max's steel-blue eyes narrowed. At 45, he commanded every room with the confidence of a man who'd built a billion-dollar empire from nothing. "Where is it?" "Where is what, sir?" He pulled out his phone, swiping to display a photo. "My mother's emerald bracelet. The security system shows you were the only one in the master suite yesterday." Olivia's blood ran cold. "Sir, I never touched any jewelry. I was just changing the linens as scheduled. Do you think I'm an idiot?" His voice sliced through the air. "That bracelet is worth more than you'd make in 10 years. The mansion's front door opened, and 2 uniformed security guards entered. Behind them came Charlotte Winters, Max's ice-blonde executive assistant, her lips curled in a satisfied smirk. "Mr. Montgomery, the guards are here as requested," Charlotte announced. Olivia's eyes widened. "Guards! Mr. Montgomery, please check her quarters," Max commanded. "And her bag." "This is insane," Olivia protested as one guard took her purse while the other headed upstairs to her small room. 10 excruciating minutes later, the guard returned. "Nothing upstairs, sir." The other guard upended her purse onto an antique table. Lipstick, wallet, phone, keys, and a small prescription bottle tumbled out. "What's this?" Max snatched up the pill bottle, examining the label. "Prenatal vitamins." Olivia reached for them, her face burning. "That's private medical information, Mr. Montgomery." He ignored her, turning the bottle in his manicured fingers. "Is this how you supplement your income? Trying to trap some poor fool with a pregnancy?" The words hit Olivia like physical blows. She unconsciously placed her hand over her still flat stomach, where twin lives had just been confirmed at yesterday's doctor appointment. Lives that Max Montgomery had helped create during that one night after the company gala, a night he'd apparently forgotten. "You're fired effective immediately," Max declared. "Charlotte will escort you out after you collect your things. Consider yourself lucky I'm not pressing charges." "But I didn't." "Save it," he snapped. "People like you are all the same, looking for handouts, for shortcuts. I built everything I have through hard work." Charlotte stepped forward with a check. "Your final payment, minus the cost of the missing bracelet." Olivia stared at the check, nearly empty after the deduction. 6 months of cleaning, cooking, and managing this massive home reduced to pocket change. "Good luck with your situation," Max added with a dismissive glance at the vitamin bottle. As Olivia climbed the stairs to gather her meager belongings, tears blurred her vision. How could she have ever felt anything for this cruel man? How could she now be carrying his children? Most importantly, how would she survive and keep her babies healthy, without a job, references, or support? She had no idea that in the master bedroom, tucked behind a loose tile in the shower that Olivia had reported needed fixing weeks ago, lay the emerald bracelet that would have proved her innocence. Rain pounded against the windows of Olivia's tiny studio apartment in Queens. She sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the 2 ultrasound photos spread before her. Twins. The words still felt foreign on her tongue. "What am I going to do?" she whispered to the empty room. Her phone buzzed, with another text from her best friend, Amber. "Did you tell him yet?" Olivia's fingers hovered over the screen. How could she possibly tell Maxwell Montgomery, a man who'd just accused her of theft and thrown her out like garbage, that she was carrying his children? The memory of that night 3 months ago flooded back. The company gala celebrating Montgomery, Tech's biggest acquisition, Max loosening his tie after too much champagne, his surprising vulnerability as he confessed how lonely success could be. The unexpected gentleness in his touch. "It meant nothing to him," she murmured, placing her hand on her stomach. "He doesn't even remember." The eviction notice on her counter gave her 30 days. Without references from her last employer, finding a new live-in position was impossible. Her savings would barely cover 2 months' rent. Her phone rang. Dr. Patterson's office. "Miss Reynolds? We've reviewed your blood work. Your HCG levels are quite high, which is normal with twins, but we'd like you to come in for additional monitoring." "Is something wrong?" Panic edged into her voice. "Just precautionary. Multiple pregnancies require extra care. Do you have adequate support at home?" Olivia's eyes welled with tears. "I'll figure something out." After hanging up, she opened her laptop. The Montgomery Tech website loaded, displaying Max's confident smile beneath the headline, "Visionary CEO announces revolutionary medical technology partnership." Her finger traced his face on the screen. These babies deserved to know their father, regardless of how he'd treated her. But they also deserved protection from a man who could be so casually cruel. The solution crystallized with sudden clarity. She would leave New York. Her grandmother had left her a small house in Millfield, Connecticut. It needed work, but it was hers, free and clear. She could start over where nobody knew her, where her children could grow up with clean air and space to play. Maybe someday, when she was stronger, when she could face Max as an equal and not a desperate single mother, she would tell him the truth. Olivia placed the ultrasound photos in an envelope, addressed it to Maxwell Montgomery, then slipped it into her drawer instead of the mailbox. "Not today," she whispered, "but someday." She didn't notice the small news item at the bottom of the Montgomery Tech webpage. "Valuable family heirloom recovered at CEO's home, former employee cleared." Millfield, Connecticut welcomed autumn with a riot of color that transformed Olivia's overgrown yard into a wonderland of crimson and gold. At 5 months pregnant, she carefully navigated the porch steps of her grandmother's Victorian home, balancing a mug of tea. "Need a hand with that?" called Eleanor Whitaker from next door. At 72, the retired nurse had appointed herself Olivia's unofficial guardian angel since her arrival 2 months ago. "I've got it, Eleanor, thanks," Olivia replied, lowering herself into a wicker chair. Eleanor joined her, eyeing Olivia's growing belly. "Twins taking a toll, huh? You're carrying high." "2 boys, I'd wager." Olivia smiled. "The doctor says 1 of each, actually." "Perfect balance." Eleanor nodded approvingly. "Have you thought about names?" "Lily for the girl," Olivia said, without hesitation. "After my mother." "And for the boy?" Olivia hesitated. She'd been avoiding this question because every name she considered reminded her of Max in some way. Still deciding. "And the father? Any word from him?" Olivia's hand instinctively went to her locket. Inside was the newspaper clipping announcing Max's medical technology initiative that would revolutionize prenatal care. The irony wasn't lost on her. "He doesn't know," Olivia admitted. "It's complicated." Eleanor's weathered hand covered hers. "Life usually is, dear." Later that evening, as Olivia sorted through boxes of her grandmother's belongings, her phone chimed. With a news alert, "Montgomery Tech stock soars after FDA approval." Curiosity got the better of her. She clicked the link to find Max's image, distinguished in a tailored suit but with shadows under his eyes she hadn't noticed before. The article mentioned his generous donation to the single mother's support initiative and quoted him saying, "Everyone deserves second chances." Olivia felt a flutter in her belly, the twins moving as if responding to her quickening pulse. "Is he looking for me?" she wondered aloud. The question haunted her as she prepared the nursery, painting clouds on a sky-blue ceiling. That night, a fierce storm knocked out power across Millfield. As thunder shook the old house's foundation, Olivia felt a sharp pain that made her double over. Something was wrong. With trembling fingers, she dialed Eleanor's number. "The babies," she gasped when her neighbor answered. "Something's happening with the babies." In the hospital waiting room hours later, Eleanor held Olivia's hand as the doctor approached with a grave expression. "Ms. Reynolds, we need to discuss your options. The ultrasound shows one twin is developing normally, but the other. Mr. Montgomery, we found it. Max looked up from his laptop to find his housekeeper, Mrs. Chen, standing in his office doorway, holding a familiar emerald bracelet. "Where?" he asked, his throat suddenly dry. "Behind loose tile in master shower, the one that needed fixing." Her expression remained neutral, but her message was clear. The same repair Olivia had reported months ago. Max took the bracelet, guilt washing over him. "Thank you, Mrs. Chen." After she left, he opened his desk drawer and withdrew the private investigators report. "Olivia Reynolds," he read aloud, "currently residing in Millfield, Connecticut." The report contained what public records revealed: her purchase of her grandmother's house, her Connecticut driver's license application, her part-time job at the local library. Nothing indicating a baby, though the investigation was 3 months old now. Max had spent countless nights replaying their last encounter, her stunned expression when he'd accused her, the prenatal vitamins spilling from her purse, her hand protectively covering her stomach. He remembered the night of the gala, with startling clarity, her laughter, her compassion as he'd confided his loneliness, the way morning light had illuminated her sleeping form before he'd slipped away, leaving a note he later discovered his assistant had removed. His intercom buzzed. "Mr. Montgomery, the board is waiting." In the conference room, 12 expectant faces turned to him. "The Montprena device preliminary trials show 98% accuracy in detecting fetal abnormalities," he announced, revealing their revolutionary prenatal monitoring system. "We're positioned to transform maternal health care globally." Board member Dr. Harris leaned forward. "What about the Millfield test site? Any updates?" "Launching next month," Max confirmed. The location had been his specific request, a state-of-the-art maternal health clinic in a small Connecticut town. After the meeting, Charlotte approached his desk. After her confession to planting the bracelet, a desperate attempt to remove Olivia, whom she'd seen as competition. He'd demoted her but kept her employed, another decision that haunted him. "This came for you," she said, handing him an envelope from Millfield General Hospital. His heart stopped when he saw the contents, an invitation to the ribbon-cutting of their new prenatal wing, funded by his anonymous donation. That night, Max booked a room at Millfield's only hotel. It was time to make amends. Meanwhile, in her cozy Victorian, Olivia cradled her prominent belly, studying the brochure for the new clinic where she'd been offered a receptionist position. The advanced technology might be her twin's best hope, especially little Max Jr., whose heart condition had been detected during that frightening night 3 months ago. She hadn't planned to name him after his father, but in the hospital, terrified of losing him, the name had slipped out naturally. Now it felt right. "Just hold on," she whispered to her son. "Help is coming." The Millfield Library's quiet atmosphere was shattered by a crash as Olivia dropped a stack of books. At 8 months pregnant, her balance had become unpredictable. "Let me help you," said a deep voice as strong hands gathered the scattered volumes. Olivia froze. She knew that voice. Maxwell Montgomery straightened, books in hand, his eyes widening, as he took in her pregnant form. For a moment neither spoke. "Thank you," she finally managed, accepting the books without meeting his gaze. "Olivia." Her name sounded different on his lips now, gentle, uncertain. "What are you doing here?" She asked, one protective hand on her belly. Before he could answer, Eleanor appeared at Olivia's side. "Everything all right, dear?" "Fine," Olivia assured her. "Mr. Montgomery was just leaving." "Montgomery?" Eleanor's eyes narrowed. "The tech mogul funding our new clinic?" Max nodded, his eyes never leaving Olivia's face. "I'm here for the opening. Tomorrow." "How wonderful," Eleanor exclaimed. "Olivia starts her new job there next week, perfect timing with the twins due soon after." Max's face paled. "Twins?" Olivia felt the blood drain from her own face. "Eleanor, could you give us a moment?" After her friend reluctantly departed, Olivia led Max to a secluded reading alcove. "I should have told you," she began. "Are they?" He couldn't finish the question. "Yes." Her voice was barely audible. "From the night of the gala." Max sank into a chair, running his hands through his silver-streaked hair. "I looked for you, after I found the bracelet, after Charlotte confessed." Charlotte. She planted it. She was. He waved dismissively. It doesn't matter. What matters is I wronged you. Terribly. Olivia felt one of the babies kick sharply. They're active today, she murmured. Max's hand hovered uncertainly. May I? She hesitated, then guided his palm to where their son was kicking. The wonder that transformed his face made her heart clench. Boy and girl, she said softly. Lily and... She hesitated. And? He prompted. Max, she admitted. I named him Max. Tears filled his eyes. Why would you do that after what I did? Because he's fighting, she explained. He has a heart condition. The doctors say he'll need surgery after birth. Max stared at her in shock. That's why you took the job at the clinic. The technology there, your technology, could save him. As realization dawned, Olivia felt a sharp pain that made her gasp. What's wrong? Max asked, alarmed. Nothing, she insisted. Braxton Hicks contractions, normal this late. But as she stood, clear fluid trickled down her leg. My water just broke, she whispered in disbelief. But it's too early. Push, Olivia. Dr. Hansen's voice seemed to come from miles away as Olivia gripped the bed rails. I can't, she sobbed. It's too soon. The babies are coming now, the doctor insisted. 28 hours is long enough. We need to get them out. Through the haze of pain, Olivia was vaguely aware of Max pacing outside her room. She'd refused to let him in, too overwhelmed by his sudden reappearance and the premature labor. Another contraction seized her, and she screamed. The door flew open as Max burst in. Let me help her, he demanded. Nurses tried to intercept him, but Olivia called out, let him stay. Moments later, his hand was in hers, his forehead pressed against her temple. You can do this, he murmured. You're the strongest person I've ever known. His words gave her strength for the final push. Here's your daughter, Dr. Hansen announced, placing a tiny, wailing bundle on Olivia's chest. Lily's cries filled the room, strong, defiant. But as Olivia's son entered the world minutes later, silence followed. Why isn't he crying? Olivia asked frantically. The medical team whisked the baby away. Long, agonizing minutes passed before Dr. Hansen returned. His heart rate is unstable, she explained gently. We need to transfer him to Boston Children's Hospital immediately. I'll go with him, Max said without hesitation. No, Olivia protested weakly. I need to be with both my children. You need to recover, Max insisted. I'll take care of our son. I promise on my life, Olivia. Let me do this one thing right. Dr. Hansen nodded agreement. The helicopter's waiting. We don't have much time. Exhausted and terrified, Olivia relented. She watched as Max followed the medical team carrying their fragile son. 3 days later, Olivia was discharged with Lily. They arrived home to find Eleanor waiting with surprising news. Your Mr. Montgomery has been calling every hour, she reported. Little Max had his first surgery yesterday. It went well, but he needs another procedure. Olivia's knees buckled. Eleanor guided her to the sofa. There's more, the older woman continued. Mr. Montgomery has transferred his entire executive team to Boston. He's set up a nursery in the penthouse apartment he's rented across from the hospital. Olivia stared at her newborn daughter, so perfect while her twin brother fought for his life miles away. He sent this, Eleanor added, handing over a tablet. The screen displayed a video chat request. When Olivia accepted, Max's exhausted face appeared. Behind him, in a high-tech incubator, lay their son, tiny, connected to tubes and monitors, but alive. He opened his eyes today, Max said, his voice breaking. They're exactly like yours. Olivia touched the screen. I need to be there. I've sent a car, Max replied. It's waiting outside. As she packed a bag for herself and Lily, Olivia found the envelope containing the ultrasound photos she'd never sent. A reminder of secrets kept too long. Eleanor appeared in the doorway. Go to your family, she urged. All of them. In the luxurious town car speeding toward Boston, Olivia gazed at her daughter's sleeping face. Soon she would place Lily in her father's arms for the first time. Soon she would hold her son again. What she didn't know was that while little Max was stable now, the doctors had discovered something in his genetic tests, something that would change everything. The Boston. Skyline glittered against the night sky as Olivia's car pulled up to the luxury high-rise across from the children's hospital. Cradling Lily against her chest, she stepped into the marble lobby where a concierge immediately approached. "Ms. Reynolds, Mr. Montgomery is expecting you. The private elevator is this way." Exhaustion and anxiety battled within her as the elevator ascended to the penthouse floor. The doors opened directly into a spacious apartment that somehow managed to feel both opulent and practical. Medical textbooks were scattered across glass coffee tables. A hospital-grade bassinet stood near floor-to-ceiling windows, offering a direct view of the hospital, where her son fought for his life. Olivia. Max appeared from a hallway, his usually immaculate appearance disheveled. The expensive suit was replaced by jeans and a wrinkled button-down. His 5 o'clock shadow had progressed to what looked like 3 days' worth of growth. For a moment, they simply stared at each other, two people connected by the most profound of bonds, yet virtual. Strangers. Lily squirmed and whimpered, breaking the silence. "Is that?" Max stepped forward, his eyes fixed on the pink bundle. "Your daughter," Olivia confirmed, adjusting the blanket to reveal Lily's perfect face. "Lily Elizabeth Reynolds." Max's hand trembled as he reached toward them, stopping just short of touching the baby. "She's beautiful," he whispered. "You can hold her." Olivia offered, surprising herself with the gesture. Uncertainty flashed across his face before he nodded. With careful movements that revealed his inexperience, he took the newborn into his arms. Lily's eyes opened, the same rich brown as Olivia's, and seemed to study her father's face with impossible intensity. "Hello, Lily," he said, his voice cracking. "I'm your dad." The simple declaration hung in the air between them. Olivia felt tears threatening. This wasn't how she'd imagined introducing her children to their father. "How's Max?" she asked, forcing herself to focus on their more urgent concern. Max's expression sobered. "He's stable after the first procedure. The doctors say his heart is stronger than they expected, but..." He hesitated. "They found something else during genetic testing." Fear clutched at Olivia's chest. "What?" "A rare genetic marker. It doesn't affect him now, but it could cause complications later." Max guided her to a sleek leather couch. "The good news is, I've brought in specialists from around the world. Dr. Patel arrived from London yesterday, and Dr. Yamamoto is flying in from Tokyo tomorrow." Olivia's head spun. "How can you afford all this?" A ghost of his old confident smile appeared. "I'm still a billionaire, remember? Besides, the Montpraner device, our prenatal monitoring system, was inspired by situations exactly like ours. The research we're doing for Max will help thousands of other babies." "When can I see him?" Olivia asked, desperate to hold her son. "Now. The night nurse is waiting for us at the hospital." He looked down at Lily. "I've arranged for a pediatric nurse to stay here with her while we're gone." As if on cue, a kind-faced woman in scrubs emerged from another room. "Ms. Reynolds, I'm Nurse Jenkins. I'll take good care of little Miss Lily." Olivia hesitated, her maternal instincts warring with her need to see her son. "The hospital is literally across the street," Max assured her, seeming to understand her reluctance. "We can be back in 3 minutes if needed." After carefully transferring Lily to Nurse Jenkins, Olivia followed Max back to the elevator. As they descended, she noticed his hand gripping the rail, knuckles white. "You're scared too," she realized aloud. He met her eyes. "Terrified. I've negotiated billion-dollar deals and addressed the United Nations, but nothing has ever frightened me like seeing him in that incubator." The honesty in his voice touched something in Olivia. Despite everything, they were united in this fear, this desperate love for their children. The pediatric cardiac intensive care unit was hushed and dimly lit when they arrived. Dr. Winters, a petite woman with kind eyes behind frameless glasses, greeted them. "He's had a good day," she told Olivia, leading them to an incubator surrounded by monitors. "His vitals are strong considering what he's been through." Nothing could have prepared Olivia for the sight of her son, so tiny, with tubes and wires seeming to engulf his little body. A blue knit cap covered his head, and a small stuffed elephant rested beside him. "You can touch him," the doctor encouraged. "Skin contact is important." Olivia reached through the incubator's opening, her finger gently stroking her son's arm. His skin was softer than anything she'd ever felt. "Hey, sweet boy," she whispered. "Mommy's here now." To her amazement, his tiny fingers twitched and curled around hers. The monitors beeped steadily, the sound now the most beautiful music she'd ever heard. "He knows your voice," Max said softly from beside her. "I've been reading to him from your favorite book." Surprised, Olivia glanced at the nightstand where a worn copy of Jane Eyre lay open. "You remembered." "I remember everything about that night, Olivia," he admitted. "I never forgot. I just didn't know how to find you after I realized what had happened." As little Max's monitors beeped steadily in the background, Olivia realized they were standing at a crossroads, one that would determine not just their futures, but the futures of both their children. Days at the hospital blurred together into a rhythm of medical updates, specialist consultations, and precious moments with baby Max. Olivia established a routine, spending mornings with Lily at the penthouse and afternoons with Max at the hospital, where her son grew stronger each day. 3 weeks after her arrival in Boston, Olivia sat in Dr. Patel's office, struggling to comprehend his explanation of Max's genetic marker. "It's called Montgomery syndrome," the doctor explained, adjusting his glasses. "Montgomery?" Olivia repeated, looking at Max, who sat beside her, equally confused. "Yes, quite the coincidence," Dr. Patel continued. "Named after Dr. James Montgomery, who discovered it in 1978. No relation to you, I presume, Mr. Montgomery?" Max shook his head. "Not that I'm aware of. The condition is extremely rare, only 27 documented cases worldwide. It affects the heart's electrical system, but can remain dormant for years." "Will it hurt him?" Olivia asked, her fingers intertwined nervously with Max's, a gesture of mutual support that had developed naturally over the weeks. "Not necessarily. With monitoring and the right interventions, many patients lead normal lives. The challenge is predicting when symptoms might appear. And that's where Montprina comes in," Max interjected. "We've adapted the technology to create a miniature monitoring device that can alert us to any changes in Max's condition." Dr. Patel nodded. "It's revolutionary technology, Ms. Reynolds. Your son is actually helping us pioneer a treatment approach that could help children around the world." After the meeting, they walked through the hospital garden, Olivia pushing Max's stroller while Max carried Lily in a front carrier, an image of domestic harmony that belied the complexity of their situation. "You never told me about the connection," Olivia said, "between our son's condition and your company's new direction." Max adjusted Lily's sun hat. "I was developing prenatal monitoring technology before I knew about the twins. But after finding out about Max's condition," he trailed off. "You accelerated it," she finished for him. He nodded. "Every resource, every brilliant mind I could hire, I redirected everything to making this work. For him." They stopped beneath a flowering dogwood tree. Lily was asleep against Max's chest, and baby Max blinked contentedly up at the dappled sunlight filtering through the leaves. "Dr. Winters says he might be able to come home next week," Olivia said, hardly daring to believe it. "Home," Max repeated, the word hanging between them. Neither had discussed what would happen once baby Max was discharged. The unspoken question loomed. "Where was home now, I've been thinking?" Max began cautiously. "The house in Millfield is beautiful, but it's far from Boston Children's Hospital. Max will need regular checkups, and if anything happens—" "You want us to stay in Boston," Olivia surmised. "I've purchased an apartment in this building," he said. 3 bedrooms, a nursery already furnished for the twins. It would be yours." "No. Strings attached. I'd take the penthouse, be close enough to help, but not intrusive." Olivia studied his face. The face that had once looked at her with such contempt, now filled with genuine concern. Over the past weeks, she'd glimpsed the man behind the mogul. The man who spent nights sleeping in a hospital chair so his son wouldn't be alone, who learned to change diapers and prepare bottles with the same determination he applied to corporate acquisitions. "And what about us?" she finally asked. "What are we to each other, Max?" "Co-parents," he offered. "Maybe friends eventually. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, Olivia. You fired me, accused me of theft, and humiliated me," she reminded him. though without the anger that once accompanied those memories. "I did," he acknowledged, "and nothing I do will ever fully make up for that. But these children, our children, they deserve better than two parents who can't be in the same room without tension." A nurse approached them, smiling. "Mr. Montgomery, Ms. Reynolds' baby Max did wonderfully in physical therapy today. His muscle tone is improving." As they thanked her, Olivia noticed how the hospital staff treated them like a family. In many ways, that's what they had become in this medical bubble. Later that night, after both babies were asleep, Olivia found Max on the penthouse balcony, staring at the hospital across the street. "I'll take the apartment," she decided. "For the twins' sake." Relief washed over his features. "Thank you. But I need to be clear about something," she continued. "I'm not the same person who worked in your house, Max. That woman was intimidated by you, in awe of your wealth and position. And now," he asked quietly, "now I've seen you at your most vulnerable. I've watched you fight for our son with everything you have. That's earned my respect, but not my submission. If we're going to co-parent, it has to be as equals." Max considered. This then extended his hand. "Partners then, equal partners in raising our children." Olivia shook his hand, sealing their agreement. Neither mentioned how their touch lingered, or the current of something unresolved that still flowed between them. What they didn't know was that their careful arrangement was about to be tested in ways neither could anticipate. "Welcome home, little fighter," Olivia whispered as she carried baby Max through the doorway of their new apartment for the first time. The space was bathed in warm afternoon light, highlighting the tasteful decor that somehow managed to be both elegant and child-friendly. Max followed with Lily, setting down the carrier to open windows and let in the fresh spring air. The nursery, "Is this way?" he guided, leading Olivia down a hallway to a room that took her breath away. Hand-painted murals of enchanted forests covered the walls. Two matching cribs, one with blue accents, one with lavender, stood beneath a crystal mobile that cast rainbow reflections across the ceiling. A rocking chair upholstered in buttery. Leather waited in the corner, flanked by bookshelves already filled with children's classics. "Max, this is..." Olivia struggled to find words. "Too much?" he asked uncertainly. She shook her head. "It's perfect." "But how did you arrange all this while practically living at the hospital?" "I had help," he admitted. Eleanor supervised the designers. She insisted the nursery should be magical but practical. The mention of her Millfield neighbor brought a pang of homesickness. "I miss her." "She's coming to visit next week," Max revealed. "I sent a car to bring her up for the twins' official 2-month birthday." Olivia carefully placed baby Max in his crib, marveling at how much he'd grown since his precarious first days. Though still smaller than his sister, his cheeks had filled out and the incision from his heart surgery was healing beautifully. "I still can't believe he's really home," she said, adjusting his monitoring device, a sleek band around his ankle that transmitted vital signs directly to their phones and to the medical team. The monitor pinged, showing a steady heart rate. Technology that hadn't existed 3 months ago was now keeping their son safe. "The research team wants to feature him in the presentation to the FDA next month," Max mentioned, setting up Lily's crib mobile. "Anonymously, of course." "Our son, the medical pioneer," Olivia mused. "Do you ever wonder what they'll be when they grow up?" Max's expression turned thoughtful. "I had my children's futures planned before they were even conceived. Harvard for my son, who would take over Montgomery Tech. A suitable marriage for my daughter to cement business alliances." He shook his head ruefully. "Shows how little I knew about parenting." "And now I just want them healthy and happy," he said simply. "Everything else is negotiable." The twins' first night home established a pattern that would define the coming weeks. Max insisted on taking the midnight and 3 a.m. feedings, allowing Olivia to sleep through until morning. She handled the daytime routine while he worked from his home office, emerging for lunch and baby cuddles before returning to video conferences and business calls. They developed an easy companionship, sharing meals and discussing baby milestones rather than their complicated past. By unspoken agreement, they focused on the present, on surviving each day with newborn twins, one with special medical needs. A month into their new arrangement, Olivia was rocking Lily to sleep when she heard raised voices from Max's office. Curious, she crept closer. "The board doesn't make decisions about my personal life," Max was saying, his tone razor-sharp. "My children are not a public relations issue." A pause as someone on the other end responded. "Then they can vote me out," he continued. "But I will not parade my family in front of photographers to boost stock prices." Another pause. "No, end of discussion. And Harriet, if the press gets wind of this, I'll know exactly where the leak came from." He ended the call abruptly, turning to find Olivia in the doorway. "Sorry," she said. "I didn't mean to eavesdrop." Max ran a hand through his hair in frustration. "The board thinks going public about the twins would humanize me and boost investor confidence. Apparently my image as a cutthroat businessman is hurting our medical division's reputation. What do you want to do?" Olivia asked. He looked surprised by the question. "Keep you and the twins private, of course. You didn't ask for the scrutiny that comes with being connected to me." His protective instinct touched her. "I appreciate that, but maybe there's a middle ground. The Montprena device saved our son's life. If sharing our story helps other families access that technology." "You'd do that?" Max asked incredulously. "After how the press hounded you when they discovered you were staying here." The tabloid headlines had been vicious. "Montgomery's Maid moves in," and "Billionaire's secret baby mama." Paparazzi had camped outside the hospital until Max obtained a restraining order. "I'm not suggesting a full media tour," Olivia clarified, "but a carefully managed interview focused on the medical technology rather than gossip." Max studied her with newfound respect. "You're remarkable, you know that. After everything you've been through, you're still thinking about how to help others." His admiration made her uncomfortable. "I'm being practical. Your company's success ensures continued research that could help Max and children like him." "Right," he said, a flash of disappointment crossing his features. "Practical." That night, as Olivia prepared for bed, she found a small velvet box on her pillow. Inside was a delicate silver locket containing tiny photographs of the twins. The ED note read simply, "For the most practical and extraordinary mother my children could have. Thank you, M." She traced the inscription on the back of the locket. "Family is the heart's true home." Outside her bedroom window, she could see lights still burning in Max's penthouse. He was working late again, as he had most nights since they'd brought baby Max home. What Olivia didn't know was that while one monitor tracked their son's heartbeat, another concern entirely was keeping Max awake tonight. One that would soon force them to confront feelings both had carefully avoided acknowledging. "Mr. Montgomery, they're ready for you." Max nodded to his assistant, straightening his tie before entering the boardroom where 20 of the country's top medical journalists waited. 6 months had passed since the twins' birth, and the Montprena device was finally ready for public launch. He glanced at his watch. Olivia should be arriving soon with the twins for the private demonstration following the press conference. Their carefully choreographed appearance had been planned down to the minute. A brief introduction of the Montgomery family before focusing exclusively on the technology. As Max began his presentation, he spotted Olivia slipping in through the side door looking elegant in a simple blue dress, a twin on each hip. Little Max, now chubby-cheeked and bright-eyed, wore a tiny button-up that matched his father's suit. Lily, already showing signs of her mother's beauty, babbled happily in a frilly dress. "The inspiration for Montprena came from a deeply personal place," Max explained to the assembled journalists. "My own son was diagnosed with a rare heart condition before birth." The room fell silent as he described how the technology worked, allowing doctors to monitor developing babies with unprecedented precision and intervene earlier when problems arose. "Today, that same technology has evolved to help children like my son live normal lives despite serious medical conditions," he concluded, gesturing for Olivia to join him. As cameras flashed, Max felt a surge of pride unlike anything he'd experienced. In business, here was his true legacy, not the billions in his bank accounts, but these two perfect beings and the woman who had brought them into the world. The demonstration proceeded flawlessly until a reporter from the Medical Tribune raised her hand. "Mr. Montgomery, your son's condition is being called Montgomery syndrome. Is there a family connection?" Max exchanged a glance with Olivia. They'd prepared for this question. No relation to my family. It's named after the doctor who first identified it. But isn't it true that this particular genetic marker appears frequently in your father's ancestral line? The reporter persisted. Our research suggests at least 3 documented cases in your extended family. The room seemed to tilt slightly. That's impossible, Max said. I've had the best geneticists in the world working on this case. Perhaps you should ask Dr. Leonard Ashford, the reporter suggested. He treated your uncle for the same condition 30 years ago. Uncle Robert, Max's estranged father's brother, who had died suddenly at 42. A heart attack, his father had always said. The press conference ended abruptly, with Max's PR team ushering the journalists out, while he retreated to his office, Olivia and the twins following close behind. Is it true? Olivia asked once they were alone, settling the twins in the playpen Max kept in his office. Could this condition be hereditary from your side? Max was already on the phone. Get me Dr. Ashford, he demanded. Immediately. An hour. Later, they sat across from a distinguished older gentleman whose grave expression confirmed their fears before he even spoke. I was bound by doctor-patient confidentiality, Dr. Ashford explained. When I saw the press release about your son, I reached out to your medical team, but they assured me all genetic avenues had been explored. My father told everyone Uncle Robert died of a heart attack, Max said, struggling to process this information. Your father was determined to bury the truth, Dr. Ashford confirmed. He believed acknowledging a genetic defect in the Montgomery line would weaken the family's position in business circles, so he let me believe— Max couldn't finish the sentence. That the condition came from Ms. Reynolds's side? Yes. I suspect your team was instructed to focus their genetic investigation in that direction. Olivia gasped. Who would do such a thing? Max's expression darkened with sudden understanding. My father. He's been on the board of directors since I took the company public. He would have access to the research team. The doctor nodded soberly. There's more you should know. The condition is dominant on the male line. Every son has a 50% chance of inheriting it. And the current treatment protocol? Max asked, his voice tight. Effective for now, Dr. Ashford assured them. But as your son grows, he'll need more specialized care. The Montgomery men tend to show increased symptoms in adolescence. After the doctor left, Olivia found Max standing at his office window, staring out at the Boston skyline. Little Max had fallen asleep in the playpen while Lily contentedly stacked blocks. I'll need to confront my father, Max said without turning. Find out exactly what he did, who he influenced. Do. You think he deliberately sabotaged the research? Olivia asked, horrified. I think he's capable of it, Max replied grimly. Family reputation has always been his obsession. Olivia placed a hand on his arm. This doesn't change anything about how we care for Max. It changes everything. He countered. I'm the reason he's suffering, Olivia, my genes, my family's secrets. You're also the reason he's thriving, she reminded him. Your technology, your determination to find the best care. He finally turned to her, vulnerability etched across his features. When I accused you of theft that day, I was becoming exactly like my father, cold, judgmental, caring more about appearances than truth. You're nothing like that now, Olivia said firmly. Because of you, he admitted. You and the twins changed everything. Their eyes met, and the careful distance they'd maintained for months seemed to evaporate. Max stepped closer, his hand gently cupping her cheek. Olivia, His office door burst open as his assistant rushed in. Mr. Montgomery, I'm sorry to interrupt, but there's an emergency. Your father has called an emergency board meeting. He's moving to have you removed as CEO. Gerald Montgomery's imposing figure dominated the head of the boardroom table, his silver hair and tailored suit, projecting an aura of authority that had intimidated Max throughout his childhood. At 73, he still maintained the sharp features and cold blue eyes that Max had inherited, though thankfully not the cruelty that animated them. This company cannot afford to be associated with genetic weakness, Gerald was saying as Max entered. The market impact would be devastating. Genetic weakness. Max's voice cut through the room. You mean your grandson's medical condition? The one you've known about all along? The board members shifted uncomfortably as father and son faced off. Maxwell, Gerald acknowledged with a curt nod. We were just discussing the necessary damage control after today's unfortunate revelations. You mean your decades of lies, including manipulating my son's medical research to hide your family's medical history? Gerald's expression hardened. I did what was necessary to protect this family's legacy. By endangering your great-grandson, Max countered, his voice dangerously quiet. By allowing the mother of my children to believe she might be responsible for his condition. A murmur ran through the board members. Many were only now realizing the full implications of Gerald's deception. Your sentimentality is clouding your judgment, Gerald declared. This company is built on lies, Max interrupted. Just like our family. He turned to address the board directly. For months we've been developing technology that could save countless lives, including my son's. But my father corrupted that research to protect his own reputation, potentially delaying critical treatments. That's preposterous, Gerald sputtered. Is it? Max pulled out his phone, playing a recording of Dr. Ashford detailing exactly how Gerald had intervened in the research, directing geneticists away from examining the Montgomery family line. This stops today, Max announced. I'm calling for an immediate vote. Either my father resigns from this board or I walk away, taking my shares, my patents, and my team with me. Gerald's face flushed with anger. You wouldn't dare destroy everything we've built. I'm not destroying anything, Max replied calmly. I'm saving it. From you. The vote was decisive, 14-6 in favor of Gerald's removal. As security escorted the elder Montgomery from the building, he turned to his son with cold fury. You'll regret this, Maxwell. Those children have made you weak. Max watched his father go, feeling not triumph but a profound sadness for all the years lost to Gerald's toxic influence. Hours later, after emergency meetings with legal teams and PR specialists, Max finally returned to the apartment building. Instead of going to his penthouse, he went directly to Olivia's door. She answered immediately, still dressed from the press conference, though she'd kicked off her shoes. The twins were asleep, the apartment quiet save for the gentle hum of the baby monitor. I saw the news, she said, ushering him in. Are you okay? Not really, he admitted, sinking onto her couch. I just publicly ousted my father and exposed a family secret that's been buried for generations. She handed him a glass of whiskey, sitting beside him. You did the right thing. For Max, for the company, for all the families who will benefit from the research. I know, he sighed, but there's something else. Something I should have told you months ago. Olivia tensed, preparing herself for more difficult revelations. That night, after the gala, Max began hesitantly. It wasn't just physical for me. I felt a connection with you that I'd never experienced before. When I woke up the next morning, I panicked. Because I was your housekeeper, she supplied. Because you saw through me, he corrected her. All my life, people have wanted me for my money, my power, my connections. But you talked to me about books and art and what makes life meaningful. You challenged me. He set down his glass, turning to face her fully. I left a note that morning, asking to see you again properly. When you never mentioned it, I assumed you weren't interested. Later, I discovered Charlotte had removed it. And then you accused me of theft, Olivia reminded him, though without the bitterness that once accompanied those words. An unforgivable mistake, he acknowledged. One I'll regret for the rest of my life. Olivia was quiet for a long moment. Why are you telling me this now? Because today made me realize life is too short for hidden truths, he said, and because I'm in love with you, Olivia. Not just as the mother of my children, but as the remarkable woman you are. The confession hung between them, changing everything and nothing at once. I don't expect you to feel the same, he continued when she didn't respond. We can continue as we have been. Co-parents, friends. Nothing has to change. Olivia reached for his hand, her touch sending electricity through him. What if I want things to change? Hope flickered in his eyes. What do you mean? These past months watching you with the twins, seeing how you've fought for our son, how you've respected my independence. She took a deep breath. I've fallen, In love with you too, Max. The real you, not the billionaire, not the CEO. Just the man who reads Goodnight Moon with different voices for each character and who still can't figure out how to fold onesies. A smile broke across his face. Not the controlled, media-ready smile he showed the world, but something genuine and vulnerable. Olivia Reynolds, will you? A sharp beeping from the baby monitor interrupted him. Both their phones chimed simultaneously, with an alert from little Max's monitoring device. His heart rate is elevated, Olivia said, already on her feet and moving toward the nursery. Max followed, fear replacing joy in an instant. Inside the nursery, little Max was awake, his face flushed, while Lily slept peacefully in her crib. Something's wrong, Olivia whispered as she lifted their son. He's burning up. Max was already calling Dr. Winters. We need an ambulance, he told her. His temperature is 103, and the monitor shows arrhythmia. What had begun as a day of professional triumph and personal breakthrough was ending in their worst nightmare. Racing through hospital corridors with their son, his tiny body limp in Olivia's arms, his future suddenly uncertain once more. The sterile walls of Boston Children's Hospital had become all too familiar over the past year. Olivia sat beside little Max's bed, gently stroking his arm while monitoring machines beeped a reassuring rhythm. The crisis that had brought them racing to the emergency room 3 days earlier had stabilized, though not without revealing a new complication in their son's condition. Mrs. Montgomery. Olivia looked up to see Dr. Winters in the doorway. Even after 6 months of marriage, the name still caught her by surprise. The test results are back, the doctor said, entering with a tablet. The genetic therapy is working. His cells are showing a 70% acceptance rate of the modified DNA. Relief washed over Olivia. So this episode wasn't a rejection. No, it was actually an ordinary childhood virus that stressed his system. The genetic therapy held strong, which is exactly what we hoped to see. Max appeared in the doorway, Lily balanced on his hip. At 18 months, their daughter was a whirlwind of energy and determination, already speaking in short sentences and climbing anything within reach. "Mama, Max!" Lily squirmed to be put down, toddling over to her mother and brother. "Careful, sweetheart," Max cautioned, helping her gentle touch her brother's hand. "Max is still getting better." Little Max opened his eyes at his sister's voice, a smile lighting up his face despite the tubes and monitors. The twins' connection transcended their medical circumstances. Where Lily went, Max always followed, determined to keep pace despite his physical limitations. Dr. Winters reviewed the treatment plan with them. 2 more days in the hospital, then home with continued monitoring. The experimental gene therapy, developed through Max's company and fast-tracked by the FDA, was showing remarkable promise, not just for their son, but for dozens of children worldwide with similar conditions. Later that evening, after Lily had been taken home by Eleanor, who now lived in the apartment below theirs, Max and Olivia stood together at their son's bedside. "I received a letter from my father today," Max said quietly. Olivia tensed. Gerald Montgomery had been conspicuously absent since his removal from the board, though rumors occasionally surfaced about legal challenges he was preparing. What did he want? To meet his grandchildren. Max's expression was conflicted. He's been diagnosed with early-stage Parkinson's. Apparently, mortality has made him reflective. Do you believe him? Max sighed. I don't know, but I've been thinking about forgiveness lately. Olivia understood. Their own journey from hostility to love had been built on forgiveness. Her ability to see beyond Max's terrible mistake, his determination to make amends not through words, but through consistent actions. It would be on our terms, she said finally, supervised here at home at the first sign of manipulation or negativity toward the children. We end it, Max agreed, squeezing her hand gratefully. Their path to this moment had been anything but straightforward. After little Max's crisis following the board meeting, they'd spent weeks in and out of the hospital, postponing any discussion of their personal relationship. But in those tense moments, watching over their son together, their connection had only deepened. The proposal, when it finally came, wasn't a grand gesture, but a quiet moment in the hospital cafeteria at 3 a.m. Max offering a ring and a promise to face whatever came next, together. The wedding 6 months later had been small and private, with Eleanor officiating in the garden of the Millfield house, which they now kept as a weekend retreat. Little Max had been their ring-bearer, taking wobbly steps down the aisle with Lily scattering flower petals beside him. "We should get some rest," Max suggested, breaking into her memories. Eleanor said she'd bring Lily back first thing tomorrow. If on cue, Olivia's phone chimed with a message. It was a photo from Eleanor showing Lily fast asleep, surrounded by stuffed animals. "Best childcare investment we ever made," Olivia smiled, showing Max the picture. Eleanor's relocation to Boston had been Max's idea, providing her with a beautiful apartment in their building and creating a position for her as the twins' nanny and household manager. At 74, she'd embraced city life with unexpected enthusiasm, even starting a romance with the distinguished doorman of their building. "Speaking of investments," Max said, "the foundation board approved all the grant applications today. 10 new pediatric research projects fully funded." The Montgomery Family Foundation had been Olivia's initiative, redirecting a significant portion of their wealth toward medical research and support for families facing similar challenges. What had begun as a personal mission had evolved into one of the country's most influential health advocacy organizations, Charlotte called, Olivia mentioned as they walked toward the family lounge. "The London office is exceeding projections. She's requesting an extension on her assignment." Max nodded thoughtfully. "She's thriving there. The distance from Boston has been good for everyone." After Charlotte's confession about planting the bracelet, Max had considered terminating her employment, but had instead followed Olivia's suggestion, offering Charlotte a chance at redemption through hard work and distance. The London position, managing their European division, had transformed her, the cutthroat ambition channeled into productive leadership. In the quiet of the hospital lounge, Max pulled Olivia close, his arms encircling her waist as she rested her head against his chest. 5 years ago today," he murmured into her hair. "What was 5 years ago? The gala, the night we first." He trailed off, still able to make her blush after all they'd been through. "I remember you spilled champagne on your tie," Olivia teased. "Very smooth for a billionaire. I was nervous talking to you," he admitted. "You were the first person in years who seemed interested in me rather than what I could offer." Their journey from that night to this moment encompassed so much: pain and healing, mistakes and forgiveness, fear and hope. From employer and employee to adversaries, then reluctant co-parents, friends, and finally, partners in every sense. "Do you ever regret it?" Max asked suddenly. "Any of it?" Olivia considered the question seriously. "Not even the worst moments," she answered truthfully. "Everything led us here." Their conversation was interrupted by a nurse appearing in the doorway. "Mr. and Mrs. Montgomery, your son is asking for you. He woke up and seems much more alert." The car hurried back to find little Max sitting up in bed, his color significantly improved. "Daddy, when can I go home?" he asked, his voice stronger than it had been in days. "Soon, buddy," Max promised, sitting on the edge of the bed. "The doctors say you've been very brave." "Like a superhero?" the little boy asked hopefully. "The bravest superhero I know," Olivia confirmed, straightening his beloved stuffed elephant. "Is Lily still coming tomorrow?" "I made her a picture." He pointed to a crayon drawing on the bedside table, wobbly stick figures holding hands, labeled in childish. Scroll, "Max, Lily, Mommy, Daddy." "First thing tomorrow," Max assured him. "And guess what? Dr. Chen says if you keep getting stronger, you might be able to start swimming lessons this summer." Little Max's eyes widened with excitement. Each normal childhood milestone was a victory. Each new activity a testament to how far they'd come. Later that night, after their son had fallen asleep, Max and Olivia stood at the window of the hospital room, looking out at the Boston skyline. In the reflection of the glass, they could see their son sleeping peacefully, his monitoring device showing strong, steady rhythms. "I got a call from the Millfield Library today," Olivia mentioned. "They're naming their new children's wing after us." Max smiled. "From town outcast to local celebrity. Life is strange." "Speaking of strange," Olivia turned to face him, "I've been thinking about what you said earlier about forgiveness and family." "My father," Max guessed. "Partly, but I was thinking more about expanding our family. She took his hand and placed it gently on her stomach. "I wasn't sure when to tell you with everything happening with little Max, but—" Max's eyes widened with understanding. "You're pregnant?" She nodded, tears welling in her eyes. "About 10 weeks. I've already had genetic testing done. Everything looks perfect." The joy that spread across Max's face was everything Olivia had hoped for. 5 years ago, she couldn't have imagined this moment, standing in a hospital room with the man who had once humiliated her, now her husband and the father of her children, celebrating the news of another life they'd created together. "Boy or girl?" he asked, voice thick with emotion. "A girl," Olivia smiled. "Eleanor accidentally saw the results when she came to the doctor with me." Max laughed softly. "Another daughter. Lily will be thrilled to be a big sister." "And little Max will have another person to boss around," Olivia added. "He's definitely inherited your leadership tendencies." As if on cue, their son stirred in his sleep, murmuring something about elephants before settling back into peaceful slumber. They remained by the window, Max's arms wrapped around Olivia from behind, both watching over their son while dreaming of their growing family's future. The night nurse passing by smiled at the tableau they created, a family that had faced the worst and emerged stronger, bound together not just by blood but by choice, by forgiveness, by love that had been tested and proven resilient. "I have everything I never knew I wanted," Max whispered against Olivia's temple. "And I have everything I never thought I deserved," she replied, leaning into his embrace. Outside, the first snowflakes of winter began to fall, glittering in the city lights like stars brought down to earth. Inside, monitored by the technology Max had created to save his son, their little boy's heart beat strong and steady. The rhythm of a life no longer fragile but flourishing. 5 years from accusations to healing, from rejection to acceptance. From strangers to family, full circle. A journey that had begun with humiliation had transformed into triumph, not of wealth or success as the world measured it, but of the heart's capacity to forgive, to grow, to love beyond all reasonable expectation. And, in that hospital room, as midnight approached and a new day waited to begin, the Montgomery family stood united, whole and complete, ready for whatever challenges and joys tomorrow might bring.